So thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Pradhan, Director of Business Development here at the Attivo Group. I joined Evolve last week, and I'm joined with Len Rio, President, here at the Attivo Group. And before we get started, though, let's go over some housekeeping. We'll have question and answer period right after, towards the end of the call. But we're going to be leaving the phone lines open just in case you have some questions or comments and you want to chime in. So feel free to do that. However, if you don't have any questions at that moment, or if you're in a noisy area, please mute your phones if that's the case. Also, if you would rather just chat a question through the chat feature on WebEx here, Greg Dario will be covering those. So today we'll be reviewing some of the highlights of the Exact Macola's Evolve conference, which happened last week. So some of the points we'll be covering are the fierce ambition of Evolve, rollout plans for this upcoming year, 16-17, breakout sessions that were very popular, as well as partner announcements, and 4 Exact Macola 10 case studies that were shared during the event, and also what to expect for next year. So we'll start first with Alison Forsythe, Fierce Ambition.
This was her keynote speech, correct?
Yes, it was. So, and if you know Alison, if you've met her before in person, you'll notice just from this picture that she had a fierce ambition she mentioned last year, that she wanted to be healthy. She wanted to get healthier. She wanted to lose weight. And you can see that she did that. She looks great. She's much healthier. And she wanted to, again, kind of carry that through Exact Macola. So there are 3 main fierce ambitions for Exact Macola this year, and that is customer experience, which is a dramatic improvement of both the software and the experience with the company Exact and its resellers. The second is best in software. So continuing to develop the software so it's more natural to use, usability is really important, as well as highly and easily customizable. And then the third fierce ambition is at a faster rate, which means the increasing the pace of product development and deployment faster and better than ever, which is now enabled a completely revamped technology platform, and as well as significant expansion of the product offering.
So, when we went to Exact Evolve, we really didn't know what to expect because they don't publish an agenda. It turns out that a substantial amount of the whole conference was focused on the Exact Macola 10 product, because that is the exciting news that Exact has. There were plenty of discussions in and around other kinds of things, but when it came to product announcements and roadmap discussions and so forth, it was all focused on their flagship product, Exact Macola 10. So what they did present is their rollout plans, and you're going to see 3 slides here, one being for the immediate term. In other words, the current version is 10.3. 10.4 will be released on June 30th of this year, and then they're kind of on a 6-month cycle. So the first and foremost was that they're continuing to put development effort into business analytics and business intelligence. So workspaces that have dashboard widgets and information that people who are doing a specific job need to have eyes on is something that they are very, very focused on. In fact, Workspaces 2.0 will be released with 10.4. Essentially, the biggest improvement in the deployment of workspaces is the ability to add and subtract those dashboard widgets, as they're called, to more adequately meet a specific company's needs. So you get a lot of them out of the box. Right now, it's a little bit stiff in terms of a development environment. We've done it, takes a lot of effort, but what they've done now is made it a very easy-to-use grid to replace that. Financial consolidation has been a problem all along. That's going to be dramatically improved with 10.4. So creating consolidated financials as well as bringing in external financial information from, say, a disparate ERP system. So just through an Excel kind of import, you can combine financial statements to create financial consolidations. One of the key development points that I like about the entire Exact Macola 10 platform is the use of what we call web services that allow us to integrate with a core ERP system like Macola. Before Macola 10, it was very difficult and cumbersome from a programming perspective to access the database in a way that would allow us to, say, integrate, I don't know, a unique order entry system or a mobile application. So they are continuing to make more and more of the functions, such as production now, available as a web service. So with relative ease, we're now able to bring information into the Macola system or publish it through mobile apps in and out without breathing as heavy as we were before. Many of you are familiar with the workflow system that's in the Synergy side. They're now extending that functionality to allow for rules. So essentially, branching outcomes of a specific request is what we're really kind of supporting here. So in the event that, I don't know, maybe it's a quality management issue, if something failed a test, that rule would automatically allow the creation of a nonconformance or notify another individual. So that's a very welcome addition to workflow capability within the Synergy engine. For those of you that do a lot of manufacturing and distribution and need to forecast sales, there's a product called Forecast Pro that is kind of like one of the industry leaders of forecasting. Very easy to use, it's affordable. They're now building into Exact Macola 10's interface just a very complete integration to the Forecast Pro tool. There was one before, it was kind of clunky, it wasn't complete. They've done a really good job in integrating Forecast Pro now. And for those of you who do business internationally or have auditors looking over your shoulder, the IFRS, or International Financial Reporting Standards Board, is kind of like the SOX rules of the United States. The financial system in Macola is being modified, and it has to be done kind of in phases to allow financial reporting that conforms to IFRS. So anyone with international functionality, international business and audit requirements would welcome that particular news. The MRP system within Macola has always been limited to supporting manufacturing from a single site. The MRP system can aggregate demand from multiple locations, but it can only plan for the supply side, a production order, a shop floor order, or even a purchase order from a single location. That's been a limitation of Macola's MRP functionality for multi-site operations. And 10.4 is going to include phase one. Again, there are a number of functionalities that have to be addressed here, but multiple site MRP is now going to be capable with Macola 10. Mobile applications. As Alison said in her keynote address, that is one of the things that is becoming a business reality. It's no longer a nice to have. So between web services and out-of-the-box mobile applications to address order entry, financial queries, certainly CRM, and making them very user-friendly and highly functional is something that Exact is now very, very focused on. They have a great suite already, and they are going to be enhancing it come 10.4. During the Evolve conferences, for those who have attended, there are sessions where customers like yourselves can present requirements, requests, enhancement requests, changes to the software, and suggestions to the executive panel. There were 10 that were really key that were captured in 2015. And as we roll out 10.4, 9 of those 10 have been addressed and built into the software. I don't know exactly what they were. They didn't share that with us, yeah. But they just wanted to let us know that, hey, we got 9 out of 10 of the top 10 built in. For those of you with a heavy sales tax requirement, the AvaTax system is a highly capable cloud-based sales tax compliance and reporting engine. There has been a fairly expensive integration that you had to buy separately if you wanted to use AvaTax. That's now going to be included out of the box as part of 10.4. So that takes a big chunk, I think about $9,000 to $10,000 out of the price of deploying AvaTax. So that's a nice change. We heard a lot from Derek Oakes, who is the relatively new. He's been with Exact now about 14 months, but he is really a breath of fresh air as it relates to the direction that they're taking with developing the software. He explained how they're making some significant changes to the overall underpinnings and the technology used in developing and even in supporting the Macola platform. This is really going to be what will enable them to do agile development, meaning incremental, as well as being much more rapid in the rollout of improvements. So we can expect changes happening at a much faster pace. For those of you who have been on Macola a long time, it was at a snail's pace. It's now going to be moving a whole lot faster than it did before. So kind of the second group of plan changes, and this is probably going to happen on 12/30. Their target has been every 6 months, so I'm assuming they're going to hit their targets. They haven't missed one yet. One of the pieces of Macola that has been in there for a long time is the configurator. And while it's not a bad tool, it's a very light-duty version of configuring a product that has features and options in a make-to-order environment. They're trying to make the decision between make or buy at this point and integrate a third party or write their own, but they're going to take configurator to the next level so that all of the kinds of requirements that have fallen short in the past will be off the table, and they'll have a world-class configurator in place working with the system. The other missing piece that is often a requirement, whether you're just a manufacturer or a distributor, and especially obviously if you're in the service industry, is a service management component. where time can be charged against a project, warranties tracked, material issues, scheduling, dispatch boards for various field people or internal people. It's finally going to make its way into the Macola product, and I can tell you I'm very happy about that. We have a number of clients who can use that, as well as that will bring us into more opportunities of companies that can use the Macola 10 product. Now, the user experience and the user interface is getting a really significant overhaul as of the end of 2016. I kind of got a glimpse of this, and it happened from Bruce Hollinger, who has actually updated the Weiss's product. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But it's going to be much more like the Microsoft Office look and feel, and I'm referring specifically to the use of ribbons. And they've actually, Exact has put on their payroll a number of very highly acclaimed engineers to work specifically on the user interface. So it's not, remember how Macola Progression worked and then Macola ES, and it was kind of like your grandfather's Buick and then your father's Oldsmobile, and Macola 10 is now kind of a breath of fresh air. Well, we're going to step right into the Tesla now. So it's going to look and feel a whole lot easier to use, and I'm very pleased with that. They will continue developing more mobile apps and functionality. The marketplace is demanding it. They're going to continue development. Out of the box with Macola 10, they deliver some 40 workspaces, meaning specific roles in the organization, whether it's a controller or a purchasing manager or an account representative or who knows what. And those kinds of development for additional roles in the organization is going to continue and be available in 10, that would be, I guess, 10.5. More web services, meaning continuing to open up the programming language to allow development in more and more parts of the system. They will continue along the path of developing compliance with IFRS, as well as the multi-site MRP. There's a lot of facets to the kinds of things you might want to do with a multi-site MRP system. So they will continue development on that, build on feedback from the user community, and continuing to make that world-class. Exact is an international company. The Macola product is in, I think, 25 or 30 countries. Each of those countries have unique reporting and formatting and kind of taxation issues. Those are referred to as legislations. So Latin America is where the highest demand is right now. They'll be rolling out more legislations for Latin American countries. And then certainly more customer requests, because they received quite a few at Evolve 2016. So those are going to be deployed in the mid-range time frame. Now, looking a little longer range, they are going to be deploying a quality management functionality. We're actually going to talk about that in a few slides here, because Attivo has actually already incorporated that. We've built it for a number of companies of our clients in several industries, and we are kind of reusing that and kind of packaged up, and we're selling it at a very low cost, because the development has already been paid for, so that customers can utilize their integrated system rather than having to buy a third party. But Exact will be also incorporating something called workbenches, which is the next level of workspaces. I have no idea what that's going to look like, because they talked about it, but without a visual, it really didn't help me much. For those companies that have a lot of machinery, it's often helpful to get those machines integrated right into the ERP system. Why wait around and have to report activity, quantities completed and so forth? Why not have the machine feed the ERP system? So the PLC machine integration piece is going to be available. And I guess this would be June 30th, 2017. Built-in ad hoc reporting tools. This is a big deal. It's with they partnered with a company called Qlik, Q-L-I-K. We're going to talk about them in a minute. But that is a phenomenal replacement, essentially for the EBA application, which is a little bit dated in its technology and a little bit stiff to use compared to products like Qlik. They will be taking the next step in terms of updating web services and making more changes to the architecture so that they can be further enabled for future improvements. Continue with the development of multi-site MRP and handle more of the customer requests. Are there any questions before we move on to the third-party or add-on solution discussions? Okay, so let's talk about Qlik. This is actually a cloud-based application. So it will essentially be reading data, whether it's hosted on your premise or in a cloud environment, and allowing you to bring data into an analytical tool that is so easy to use. When they showed this to us, I said, wow, this is amazing in terms of functions that you can do right at your desk. And as they said, no engineering degree required. This is pretty exciting stuff. And this company, Qlik, works with quite a few ERP systems for the same kind of thing. So I'm assuming that Exact will be developing some canned stuff that people might want to start from rather than having to start with a blank slate. This ought to help us significantly turn that data into information. So quality management. I'm really surprised how well received this was. I knew that this had been developed with a lot of detail. In fact, there's a product out there called Unipoint. Some of you may be using it. It's not a bad solution, but it tends to be expensive, and there's annual fees that are pretty stiff, and it's another kind of software. So we created this quality management system essentially to replace Unipoint. In fact, this one customer even had us incorporate all of the ANSI test, the lot sizes that need to be used in order to be able to be in compliance for their industry. So this is where a specification is set up in the system. Then there's the lot inspections. We've built into it the non-conformance management, corrective and preventive action management. If you have tools and equipment that require calibration, it handles all of the calibration management. And obviously, document control is a very strong suit within the Macola 10 system. So tied together with the native tools and capabilities, we're able to deliver a very high quality management system that's extremely flexible and adaptable to your unique business. This is another screenshot of a non-conformance disposition. And so this is available now. Like I mentioned, we have this working in metals industry, A couple of our food processing clients are using this, and it's really helping them maintain compliance. One of them is actually ISO certified. They're going through their audit right now, and it's a dream for them because everything is so tied together. Now, some of the popular breakout sessions, there were a number of them that were held with different, flavors and different discussions regarding cloud hosting. Derek Oakes, the Director of Development, who I mentioned before, he actually facilitated one of those presentations, and there it was kind of a discussion of fundamentals. And so he was able to highlight the difference between, because there's a lot of acronyms when it comes to cloud hosting, SaaS, S-A-A-S, which stands for Software as a Service. Now, Exact currently has a product called Exact Online. That is an example of software as a service. You have common programs, they update it when they update it, you pay a subscription fee, you can customize the product to a certain amount, but you really don't have full control over everything like you would with like an Exact Macola 10 product. So SaaS is used pretty widely. You might think about applications like Salesforce, NetSuite. There are some competitors to Exact Macola such as Intact, Acumatica. These are all software as a service, which is different than cloud hosting. And cloud hosting actually comes in kind of 3 different flavors. The first is where you take your servers, your iron, and all your licenses and walk them down to a data center and say, can I rent space in your data center? And you essentially pay them a fee for their electricity, their air conditioning, and their internet service. But you are the one who's responsible for replacing that hardware, patching all of those servers, and managing it from A to Z. So co-location is something that large enterprises do that have a staff that actually have badges and can get into these data centers, as compared to the other 2 kinds of cloud hosting, which, if you think of Amazon, Amazon has a cloud. Rackspace, they offer cloud services. There are a number of companies like this where you subscribe to purchase and rent servers as you need them. They provision the server, and then from there, it's all you. So you install the applications, you patch those servers, you look after them. It's just not your hardware. So it's kind of like co-location, except everything gets done remotely, and you don't have the responsibility of replacing that hardware. It gets replaced for you. But it's still all on you and your IT people to manage a cloud environment with Amazon or Rackspace. Then there's the private cloud. The private cloud is what Attivo offers. Here, we provide you a dedicated series of servers, depending on your needs and how many servers you actually need to support your applications. And we install the applications, we manage the servers. It's more of think of it more like a managed service. So it's kind of like using Amazon, except we're handling everything, and all you have to do is click on the icon and run your application. So we've learned how to make a product like Macola that was never designed to work in a cloud work seamlessly, whether it's Progression, Macola ES, or Exact Macola 10, and get all of the WISES and Link and all of the third-party applications to play well in the sandbox and keep you at a very high level of uptime. So Derek did a great job in kind of clearing the air on all of that so people understood, because most people are at the point where, yeah, they've heard about cloud and maybe their servers are coming up on their refresh cycle and they're trying to educate themselves. So it was a great session from that perspective. Now, given all of the press that Exact has provided to all of the end users in terms of upgrading their systems, and many of you on this call have made that upgrade, have done that upgrade project already, or are in the process of it, or are thinking about it, and the crowd at Evolve was exactly the same. So lots of interest around, customer experiences related to the Exact Macola 10 conversion, whether they were upgrading from progression or from ES. And there were actually some case studies that were presented by the end users. They were really interesting as to how that experience went. We have a couple of those we're going to talk about. The Avalara product. They have a number of different products. The most widely used one is Avatax. That's the one that actually applies the correct sales tax to each and every order. But that's kind of the minimum. You can also use their service for maintaining sales tax exemption certificates. They have a separate application to do the actual sales tax reporting. It's a really powerful application, and if you have a lot of exposure here, there's probably a business case to use the Avalara service. If you don't have a lot of sales tax exposure, that's kind of a different business decision. But I know that Attivo has a number of clients using Avatax. It works extremely well for them, and it's going to be really more affordable and more easily maintained when 10.4 is released with the native integration to Avatax. Some other partner announcements. BirdDog Software has been very involved with the Exact community for as long as I can remember, which is 20+ years now. They were showcasing their latest version of their most popular product, which is their e-commerce product. But the interesting thing is that they are now tightly partnered with Exact, and you can buy the BirdDog system directly through Exact if you care to. But that shows a significant degree of support now coming from Exact for the BirdDog company. I know we have a couple of customers using it, and we actually even have our sales tax product that's integrated to it as well. Many of you are using Wisys. Wisys was one of they were the largest sponsors because their whole company is dedicated to the Macola product line. The nice thing about the Wisys system, this particular slide is talking about the tight integration and the order entry. And what you're seeing behind that order entry screen is now the new web interface for Agility. Agility is their grid-like product that allows you to handle and process large amounts of data in one screen. But that's coming out within the next 2 months, and it really shows well and it's going to allow remote access much more easily and so forth. This is another shot of their web interface. So their whole theme now is basically work where you want. So what used to be just a scanner type application can now be deployed, first of all, via the web, secondly, via any kind of device that you want. iPod, they actually have scanners that are built into those, or any kind of phone, anything that you can use from a mobile perspective is now integrated to the WISE's platform. Pretty powerful stuff. A few more partners that had some products that I sat down and reviewed in detail. Integrated Business Solutions has a service department tool that is phenomenal. They have worked probably, I don't know how many, probably 3-4 years now on developing this. But this is service management focused on, say, it would be ideal for anybody that's in the auto industry or that carries any kind of warranties or has to track any kind of recalls. And so it basically does it all in terms of capturing time spent by the technicians, the materials used, maybe a bill of materials that might be required for a repair job, all of the costing, direct billing right from these screens. Very, very powerful system. And that was showcased at the Evolve show. I probably spent 2 hours with those guys. Now, some of you might be using the Link tools. Link was most popular and came out with their visual planner quite a few years ago, and it works with both the production order processing and the shop floor control applications. They are now taking that to the next generation, and essentially they're moving it all to a web-based view, and what you're seeing there on the left side is of the production schedule, which was like the planning grid. And they are actually introducing, well, they're changing the name of 2 applications. Visual Planner is becoming Factory Planner. The labor tracking, am I getting this right? Labor tracking is becoming Workforce Manager, and they're adding a 3rd application called Factory Manager. And Factory Manager is going to be a holistic view of manufacturing operations, so that the best way I can explain this is that, you know, if you were just capturing information about completions and labor usage and materials, that's all interesting. But what else is going on the shop floor that's critical to watch? So this Factory Manager is actually going to allow you to incorporate other data points, like what was the temperature of the steam that we were using when we were sterilizing at this hour and that hour, and being able to track those kinds of critical data elements in a factory environment. So it's real, it shows really well now, and they're really doing a great job. And they've repriced it, it's much more affordable. Century Business Solutions, this is one of our partners. Most of you may know that we're the developers behind the eBiz charge for Macola, so that you can more easily take credit cards and remain in compliance with PCI or payment card industry compliance requirements. And one of the biggest issues to address as it relates to PCI compliance is the storage of any kind of financial information, like credit cards, encrypted or not, on your servers or desktops or on pieces of paper in people's drawers or wherever it might be. So we're extending that suite of products now to include eBiz Connect. And eBiz Connect is the final, I don't know if it's the final level because I can never say that, where if you take on a new client who wants to pay with credit card, you can email them a link which they can log onto a secure site and enter their credit card information, very much like PayPal, and have multiple credit cards on file, and we send that information back as a token to the Macola system. so that they can tell you the token name. It's usually the last 4 digits of the credit card, but you never, as the merchant, have to hear, type, or store any kind of credit card information on your premise, on your servers, or in your employees' heads. So it completely takes you out of the PCI compliance question, and that's all going to be included with the credit card integration within the next 30 days. So these were some of the companies that presented case studies. Some of them were really interesting, and I attended as many as I could. So Todd Keski, who's the president of Foam Supplies, Roger Pujol, who's the IT director at Altman Lighting, Cindy Nunley, she's the controller at the Seattle Tacoma Box Company, Jim Whitner and Paul Thomas of WasteQuip presented their experience in upgrading to Macola 10. Most of these were upgrade experiences, lessons learned, those kinds of things. Heather Herringer, she's the global IT director at Nielsen Massey Vanillas. So they all presented that Macola 10 upgrade experience and shared a lot of really, a lot of them were pretty much common sense, but people forget to do it. Things like, hey, you really need to have a test environment, and that has to be a separate server environment in order to be running Macola 10 and Progression or Macola ES at the same time, so that people can, use it to train themselves on it. You can run proper testing. The other kinds of things we heard was, hey, treat this like a project. You've got to have a timeline. You've got to know who, what, and when things are going to, so that you can actually keep this thing on track. A lot of things can be done internally. Many things are best left to either one of us consultant types or Exact direct resources. The building of workspaces and getting them assigned to individuals rather than leaving them with the old Macola ES interface is a very smart thing to do right from the very beginning, because there are issues with the AS import and how the data is getting written and so forth. And staying with the Macola 10 interface eliminates that requirement. Go ahead, Rachel.
Well, I just wanted to point out that we're going to be putting these case studies. I went to all of them and actually interviewed the people that presented to each of them. So we'll be putting together blog posts of each of those interviews. And we actually have Foam Supplies already on our blog, and you can see the blog URL at the bottom of that screen there. So you can go to the blog, see what Foam Supplies said, and we'll be doing that for each of those case studies as well.
One of the things that was discussed too was, what was the compelling business reason for their companies to consider doing the upgrade? Mm-hmm. And the need to go mobile was always at the top of that discussion, and be able to do business anywhere. Having the personalized workspaces instead of clicking around like a maniac, that was important. Improved data integration, because remember with Macola 10 you get everything out of the box, meaning it's not a Chinese menu any longer. So, and then they also shared with us what the benefits have been to their operations, and although maybe they were handpicked because they had a good experience, the feedback from the user community was extremely good, because coming from that stiff interface and or coming from Progression, Macola 10 just makes your job so much easier to do. Another piece of knowledge and wisdom that was passed on from each of these folks was the importance of actually doing a business process assessment before undertaking the upgrade. there's so many new tools to be utilized in the Macola 10 system that this is a perfect time to take a step back, evaluate how you're doing your processes today, what issues you're running into with doing it that way, and what the potential process improvements are in light of this new powerful software. Or just use it as an excuse to say, well, we've got a brand new system going in, let's take a look at this and fix this. Get the efficiencies, get the ROI by trying to map out the process improvements that you can make now. You know, it's real easy to say, oh yeah, we'll do it afterward. 10 years from now, you're going to be saying, we should have done that business process assessment because we're doing business the same way we did with progression. I'm using Macola 10 like a typewriter, and I should have paid attention to the wisdom of the folks who went through it. Many of them did just that. And so they have, you know, earned a lot of efficiency in their organization and gained control and visibility and bottom line profitability. That's where it all falls out. So.
And actually, Foam Supplies, when I was talking to him after his presentation, mentioned that they didn't do a business process assessment before upgrading. And he said, if there was one thing that I could take back is before doing this, is I would have done a BPA ahead of time. And the reason is because they were trying to improve processes and figuring out what the process is while they were implementing the upgrade, which made it a much longer process for them. So he said if we had done our homework ahead of time, it would have been a much smoother process. I mean, he was really happy with the upgrade, but he said it could have been a smoother process if he had insisted on doing a business process assessment ahead of time.
It's really too easy to psychologically get caught up in, all right, we got the upgrade done, let's move on to something else.
Right.
And 10 years later, you're using it like a typewriter.
Right.
I forgot who it was who mentioned having a manager assigned and, you know, somebody responsible for the project was really critical. A pilot test with an actual test script for the users to go through and along with expected results so that, you know, you can kind of manage whether or not they're ready to go and if the processes that you're trying to convert or change are valid. So as Rachel mentioned, take a look at our blog. We put out 2 or 3 a week, and these are pretty interesting stories, and we'd like to make them come alive for you. So please follow us on our blog. So it wasn't all work.
That's right.
There's always a few things that we do that are kind of fun at these conferences. Rachel, maybe you could tell us about a little bit of fun we had.
Yeah, sure. So we had Exact Evolve likes to close the event with something really fun, and the last night of Evolve, they had Joel Mason is a wonderful performer, and he did a tribute to Elton John, but it wasn't just to Elton John, he did a whole bunch of other songs as well, and so there was a lot of dancing and great fun at the Tabernacle in Atlanta. And so
that was a cool place.
It was really fun.
Tabernacle is like this old converted, I think it must have been a church or something.
That's what I said, yeah, 1920s.
And now it's a mini concert venue. I've never seen more people dancing at an Exact conference than that. It was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, there were probably 70, 80 people on that dance floor.
Yeah, definitely. We were all having a good time. So, which made it even more fun to find out that the next Exact Evolve is going to be at a really fun place, and that is New Orleans. So, save the date. The next Evolve 2017 will be April 18th through the 21st in New Orleans. So we do hope to see you there for that.
Who's the motley crew in the right-hand corner?
That was right before we went into the Tabernacle.
Yep.
We were even happier afterwards. Danced the night away.
Introducing from the left, that's Rachel.
Yeah.
Charmaine Schaefer, many of you have spoken with Charmaine. My wife Carla, Michael Juralowitz, and that's me in the back. But we're looking forward to hopefully seeing all of you in New Orleans. I'm sure that'll be a fun place to be.
Alrighty, well, we did have some questions coming over chat, and we do have the phone lines open, so if you have questions, feel free to shout them out. Let's cover the chat questions first. This is just a very general question. How many people attended the conference this year?
I think there were probably close to 500, to be my guess. And what I could see from the attendee list is there were a lot of new people who had attended versus the same people from last year. So there were some from last year, but a whole different group of people attended this year.
Were there any training sessions at the show for end users?
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that. On Monday, they had a full day of training sessions, and then also on Friday, there were training sessions. They weren't necessarily just on how to use Macola 10 or anything like that. They were really more about, well, some of them had to do with software, but they were more about business processes and, supply chain, knowledge and that kind of thing. I understand they were pretty good. I didn't attend any of them, but.
Were there any announcements regarding the sunsetting of the progression series?
No, and that's been Exact's position. As long as they have customers that are, I guess, paying maintenance, right? They will continue to support progression, and so there's been no announcement about a sunset of either product, progression or Macola ES. So they will continue to be supported for the foreseeable future.
This question was about, in reference to the credit card integration and the cloud hosting. If someone was interested in that, should they contact Attivo directly or reach out to their reseller first? What's the proper protocol there?
Oh, that's a good question. We work through with the resellers and or Exact Direct in providing those services. So we would probably know already who is their partner. So if it's just a question, you can reach out to us directly, and at some point, if you become serious about either one of those things, we would involve your business partner in order to make sure everybody's on the same page.
And that was all the questions from chat. We do have the phone lines open. If there are questions, now would be the time. All right, then.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. We enjoyed doing this webinar and kind of reliving the experience because it's always fun. Pretty exhausting, but always fun to attend these conferences and meet up with old friends, make new ones, and have some fun. So we look forward to our next webinar.
And we hope to see you at Evolve next year. Thank you.